This route boils down to 15 moves. There's a couple of moves to get up off the ground before you get established onto the cliff, and then there's a section right at the end that you could get Grandma to help you with. But it's that 15 moves in the middle that completely consumed me and drove me totally insane over 7 years. The route kind of breaks down into about like V11-12 into V11-12, and the style is very much like accuracy and not thuggery. Everything, at least for me, needs to be done really, really well, and everything just executed perfectly. So we step off the ground and get up into this kind of like big frog mouth thing. It's kind of okay in there, and I chuck in this heel hook to get my left hand up to this little arrowhead crimpy pinch thing. It's an extreme amount of tension to get through this little bit, and that right hand holds quite like a slot kind of scoop thing. It's not really in-cut at all, and you're just creating the tension between these two to the next hold. Others have found a bit of a weird drop knee sequence in there, but I find it ultra turbo on my fingers because they're just not as strong as I'd like them to be. And also when I was trying it, I ended up like fully cramping up in my calves and couldn't get into that position, so I just swapped it out. Then it's a bit of a foot swap, come up into this cool blocky undercling and chuck over to that rad little split pocket thing. So on Sack of Woe you grab it with your left hand like that, and then Hump Trouble doing this, and it just feels so good when you get in there. Make the clip, it's the only spot if you want to, you could have a quick little chalk. Sometimes I did, most of the time I didn't. Reason being, I didn't want to spend too much time hanging onto this hold. Relatively speaking, it was quite a good hold for the rest of the route, but it just felt like I really wanted that extra little pull for this move right at the very top. I just didn't want any more time under tension on that right arm. Then you're out into this awkward undercling that's just that little bit too far out the way to really get into it nicely, and you do this rad, just tension toe footwalk up to get up into this position to do a very hard and cool, accurate drive-by. Played around with a few different foot positions for this next move. For the majority of the time I was trying the foot out wide here, but then I ended up landing on getting my right foot onto my hand, and it made the move a little bit more powerful, but it meant that my foot was already there to then make the next move, and I didn't need to kind of then do another little foot swap, so just saving time again. Basically, as I go through all of this, my idea was to try and cut down the amount of time that I was on the route, because it just really did feel like things were flaming out at the top. So foot up in my mouth, over to this bad little edge, and this move took me a while to try and work out and really kind of commit to. The hold's pretty unlikely, and there's only one good bit on it, and you've got to get your index and kind of middle finger in the right spot, and then it feels pretty okay. It's probably, I don't know, maybe like a 10 mil edge or something like that. Kind of up in this like horizontal position, you got to make a clip, and committing to that clip took me months because it just didn't seem like the kind of thing that I was going to be able to do. And when it's a little bit cold or you're a little bit sweaty, like I've just bang fallen off that and just about hit the deck. And it's kind of fun in a way, but it's definitely in the back of your mind and actually not that fun. And in those initial days of trying to work everything out, I was thinking like, do I skip it? Do I move the bolt somewhere else? And it was just like a whole thing. In the end, I ended up just going, you know what, just commit to this and let's see what happens after a little while. And you just get more comfortable with it, and then it's like, okay, cool, just do it. So you make that quick clip, flick around the corner to this kind of side pull, slightly undercling thing, and you'd get the kind of fat palm heel kind of your hand here to really wrap into this and give like extra friction. So it wasn't so much relying on the fingers, but the like guppy squeeze pinch, and then the feet are walking around, and this is kind of what I would consider the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half of this route. So the first move for this second half, you get that feet set up right, and then you jump up and hit the like button if you're enjoying this. Otherwise, you know, whatever. And again, this is a spot where I've kind of changed my sequence a little bit, and it just took me a while to work out what the most efficient sequence was. So initially I was getting a right heel hook on to come up and like squeeze into this little right hand edge. It was actually a good edge. My cue for getting the move done well is getting my chest up, and it's just this little like T-Rex like kind of squeeze in. And the more I concentrated on moving my chest up rather than moving my hand to it, the better I did. But even so, like, you just get it well sometimes, and other times you sat there just kind of juicing through and then you fallen off. But I did then swap out, so rather than going with the right heel on the previous Gaston edge, I went with the toe, and it just, I think, just sped things up a little bit because I didn't need to then change out of the heel into the toe and that sort of thing. So it's then the same thing for this next sequence. So the heel hook goes on, hit this intermediate, and it's actually better if you keep it as a heel hook to hit this next hold. It's just a bit easier. But if you kept the heel hook on and you hit that next slot, you then had to do this quite tensiony hard foot match to then slide out of the heel hook. So then I figured if I can get the heel hook on to get the intermediate, then swap it to the toe and then flick again, I didn't need to try and get out of a more extended position with that heel hook in. It took me a while to work this out and to kind of work it into a sequence and get it sorted, but I think this is, for me at least, was the most efficient method I came up with. Then you chuck in a heel hook on this like absolute fin of nothingness to get this just absolutely amazing pinch. It is so bad, but so good. And right in the beginning, I was using this kind of intermediate little scallop thing as like a dunk, dunk. But I just felt like in the end I got maybe stronger in my chest to hold everything up, and I could just hit that pinch without the intermediate. Then there's another strung out foot match as you just right down there on just the tippy toes of nothingness, and then swoop this heel hook up, like everything needed, my hips and everything like up. I don't know if anyone is probably going to use this method because like my hips can open and I've got good hip flexibility, and I don't think many people are going to be able to do what I can do there. So get up into this high heel hook and then boom over into the pocket, and that was that like hit the front. If you've watched the video of the final send, which if you haven't already, far out, I'll tell you about it toward the end. But you hit this pocket, do the big swing out, you feel like the biggest hero, you just see everything like woof. The feet stab back on, and then you quick little clip, grab the intermediate, and then you're staring down that move that I fell off probably more than a dozen times. You got to jump up and stab into this slot, which is actually a pretty good hold, but it's a bit slotty, and you're tired at this point. You've done like 12, 13, 14 moves or something like that. Like you just fatigued. But you tuck that hip in, jump up into the slot, everything kind of swings off, you stab the feet back on, and you jump up, grab the jug, let out a scream of elation, and you've climbed it. From there, it really is easy climbing to get to the top, just swimming up on these big dinner plate jugs, and you just get to go, yeah, I just did that. If you haven't watched it already, I'm not sure how you could have missed that, but you can watch that video right here. It's a special one to me, and I really do hope you enjoy it if you haven't watched it yet, or watch it again, because I know a lot of you loved it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.